Let me ask you, how do you handle feedback from listeners, especially when it's critical, so we can get to the part that you really want to discuss?
How do I handle feedback from listeners? First of all, if I'm getting feedback from listeners, then that's a good thing because it means people are listening, right? So I'm happy with the feedback. I try to keep an open mind because if it is constructive criticism, I'm not opposed to it. I've always said, I'm not doing this podcast thinking I'm the expert in everything. I'm doing this podcast like I don't know much. I'm here to learn and I don't mind. I've never been the type to be shy of asking stupid questions. So I'm happy to learn. And if I'm mistaken, I'm happy to be corrected. It's not a problem. I don't take it personal in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
Also, I know the internet and I know how people get in the comment section.
You had
Eventually,
previous experience, right? From the Dr. Katal episodes, etc. And just general life on social media.
life on social media is just, it is what it is. Handling feedback is easy for me, for now, at least.
Yeah. You sort of expect it and you're open to it, which is good because that's supposed to be how people learn collaboratively, right? When I asked you a question about standout kind of memorable moments, you spoke about one clip in particular where you're speaking with Awe about South Africa. And I don't know if Charlie has listened to this because I would really like to know Charlie's thoughts as well. Let's get Charlie involved. But then you mentioned something like, at the time, I didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was South Africans in the comments feeling some type of way because you said,
What did I say?
did you or Awe say something about South Africa being xenophobic?
Yeah.
I think Awe mentioned it actually. She said she wouldn't go there. Both you and I have visited South Africa.
Yes. But to be fair, I have only been there for 2 days.
Yeah, fair.
But I always said, what'd she say?
She said something about not wanting to travel there or live there.
She was like, she feels at home in every country except South Africa. And I was like, why South Africa? And she's like, because they're xenophobic. And then I was like, whoa, okay, let's get into it. So we got into it, right? And the South Africans were not happy at all. They weren't happy. They were like, oh, is that what you're saying? Let me read some of the comments. Should I try to read some of the comments?
Yeah.
First one, this is ignorance. Second one, never been to South Africa. You're speaking on us as if you know us and why we are the way we are. Pure ignorance. Next one was South Africans not feeling Nigerian men does not amount to xenophobia. What does this have to do with anything? Okay. Basically, they were going in. When I saw that, first of all, it took me a while to realize that was happening because obviously we've been putting this thing out and no one's been replying. We haven't been getting that much
Limited
traction.
interactions. Yeah.
Limited interactions. Thank you for the way you phrase things. So professional. I like it. Limited interactions. It took me a while for me to see this happening. And then when I eventually saw it, I was like, wow, this is a lot. What I did was I went through, because I understand the way they reacted and it makes sense because we didn't have a South African on the podcast to defend and we were just talking and maybe we didn't challenge or push back enough on what I was.
I suppose we're having a conversation and what she said, like you said, it depends on who it lands on. South Africa has had significant issues, right?
For sure.
Yeah, being someone who hasn't had the experience of being in the country and like you said, not having a South African on the actual podcast to share their views made it seem like a standoffish comment, like not well thought out potentially.
I mean, it's fine if it's not well thought out in my opinion, because we live and we learn. Well, to be fair, this is internet. Everyone has a short memory. I'm not surprised. But I was hoping more South Africans would be on this live to properly discuss this thing and challenge us and really go in.
But what do you mean by challenge you on the fact that it is or isn't xenophobic?
Well, they can explain why it is xenophobic because some of the comments are basically saying that you don't know why this is the way it is. Some of the comments are saying you don't know what you're talking about. Some of the comments are saying different things. So if it isn't, why it isn't. If it is, then why it is. And we know that there's a lot of racial tensions in South Africa. The thing that Wodemaya just put out recently drives me nuts. What was that? It was the short documentary Orania in South Africa.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good idea at all. I don't think allowing that is a good idea. This is my opinion on this. People are used to the only way of colonization being a physical, violent way to colonize, right? But there's also smarter ways to do it. There's economic colonization. And who are the experts in colonization? The people that have been doing it, the people that invented it. I don't know if they invented it, but like they've been doing it for a long time and they've been successful at it. White people, Caucasians, they came into Africa, including that now call themselves Afrikaans, Europeans, white people that came and to colonize South Africa. And Now they've been through descendants, being descendants of privileged individuals with money. They've been able to buy private land, create a town, and say this is only for Afrikaans. Basically, this is only for white people that colonized you guys in the past. Only us can be here. And
Afrikaans, because it's interesting if you've watched. I just recently watched it from your recommendation through you. But did you go through the comments? I thought they were quite interesting.
I went through some of the comments, but not too much because I was just annoyed at the whole situation. I was annoyed that the South African government was even allowing this. That was annoying.
Yeah, I think the YouTuber, I haven't come across him before.
What am I?
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh yeah, because you PhD. Okay, I get it. Yeah, you don't get to have a life.
No. I don't go on YouTube that often, like recently anyway, but I think he did it very well, very sensitively. Credit to him for the way he created this 30-minute documentary on Orania. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I think he did it very well.
Yeah.
I still think it's a stupid idea that South Africans are allowing this.
Do you think they're allowing it?
Yes, because the South African government is the one that's allowing them to say, you can't imagine it's like a bunch of Nigerians coming to flipping Sweden or the UK. Okay, it's a bunch of Nigerians coming to the UK, buying land in a particular part of London and saying only Nigerians allowed here. What?
Isn't it? He made that point in the actual documentary, exactly the same thing. What if we went to Europe and did the exact same thing? It wouldn't really work, would it?
No, it wouldn't, because no country is stupid enough to let that happen. South African government is allowing that to happen, right? I think they're inviting danger. I think this is going to be a problem because when I watched that documentary, the Oranians were saying, we don't want handouts, because I think there was a thing about Trump wanted to give them aid or something or whatever. Yes. And they were like, we don't want, go on.
Refugee status, or like if they wanted to leave.
Yeah, refugee status. They were like, we don't want handouts. We don't want any of that. What we want is independence. I'm like, what? Yes. Independence? So literally, South Africa is now, these people want to create a micronation within South Africa. They want to, from within South Africa, they want to create their own nation and then expand out. Like, when you think about Israel and Palestine, it wasn't always just violence. In the beginning, it started off with the people that would become Israelis buying up Palestinian lands for cheap, right? And it started off with economic colonization. And eventually, we got to where we are today. If you are allowing this, you're just inviting danger into your country. That's the way I see it. If these people have already made it clear that what they want is independence in someone else's land, they basically want to create their own space in Africa. That's wild. In any way, shape, or form that you slice it, that's just wild. It's like, we belong here. We've been here for generations. Yeah, but South Africans are still here. This isn't your land. Like, you can live here and be a citizen of South Africa, but saying you want to now create your own land on someone else's land, like your own independent nation, I think it's dangerous. I think it's silly that South Africa's allowing it. And I don't see this ending well if they don't put a stop to it quickly. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, Charlie has opinion about it.
Yeah, I think the same things pushing xenophobia in South Africa are the same factors. Oh, it's moved for me, pushing xenophobia in America. I think Orania is fine, to be honest. It's in South Africa's constitution that each ethnicity can have their enclave. Afrikaans are indigenous. Like, yes, they descended from Europe, but they've been in South Africa for as long as Europeans have been in America. There was a similar comment under the video as well. Like, it's not, people were separating, like, this is preserving the Afrikaan culture, and a regular white English person couldn't just enter and live there too, trying to make that separation.
I still think it's silly. I don't support it.
Yeah.
I still
thought
think
it was interesting.
I don't know if Charlie's from the States. Imagine if the black people who have been in America for how many years? African Americans. How long have they been in there? And then they create a land, and then they buy their own. Even when African Americans were trying to do the Black Wall Street, you see how the white people just demolished that real quick, like, fuck out of here. And they weren't even trying to say white people can't come in here. That was not explicitly said, right? So imagine African Americans trying to do that in the States. That would never stand. Like, what? So I can't come in because I'm not African American. This is an African American only place. That wouldn't stand. Now he's saying that South Africans have a law that allow ethnicities to do this, right? Okay. But I feel like that law is a problem. The reason I feel that law is a problem is because Oranians are saying they want independence. They have their own currency.
They're self-sufficient.
It's cool if they're self-sufficient. It's cool. But what I'm saying is that they want independence. This is a problem for any nation. If any nation was allowing, this would be a problem for them. Because if they want independence, then this is a problem, because this is how wars start, basically. It's like, you are allowing this to take place. even in Nigeria, there are places like, obviously, you know, it's a diverse group of ethnic groups. There's Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Istakeri, Edo, all kinds, right? And these places are mostly either Igbo or mostly Yoruba or mostly this or mostly that. But if they started saying you can't come here if you're not Igbo, for example, and made a thing about it, that's what led to the civil war in Nigeria. This is how wars begin. What did Charlie say? He says there's a secessionist movement among African Americans called the Republic of New Africa. They will never get independence. It's not plausible. It's like Texas or Calixit. They'd get flattened by SADF if they tried it. What are these things that he's saying? I have to Google them now. God damn. Listen, wherever you go, whilst I do all the Googling.
I just found the dialogue underneath the documentary, the comment section, quite interesting. And even people saying, not only complimenting, obviously, how it was done, but
for sure. How it's done is impressive.
Yeah, but also how people were saying there's a difference between, a bit like what Charlie said, they're trying to preserve their Afrikaans culture. They kind of have been there since the 16th, 17th century. And other people are saying, well, other communities can learn from this.